Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome to Fairface Productions. So today we're going to be working on finally getting my Honda VFR800. So she's a 2002. Getting her new plastics and getting some maintenance that needs to be done. So I've had this bike for a little while. I've been kind of commuting it to work because it was in rideable condition for a while. It needed some things. Sure, the plastics are kind of beat up, but we were just kind of I don't know, lots to do this year. So she was just basically ridden. So we're going to clean up the headlights. They're a little fogged. I got new plastics going on from AccuMarts. We're going to be doing a review of that. And then we're also going to be doing the cam chain tensioner. Needs to be done on both sides. We're starting with the top one. Oil change, whatever else needs to be done. Probably some brake fluid. But yeah, so this is my 02 VFR. Been a great bike. A lot of fun. Very unique V4 engine from Honda. This is my second VFR. Very, very fun bikes. All right, guys, so here we're at, just doing a quick little update. I didn't want to bore you guys with every single little plastic piece removal, all that fun stuff. Taking this off is very self-explanatory. Follow the bolts, remove it. It's all, not the most fun. I will say for the front headlights, make sure to remove the two silver bolts in front first. Makes it a lot easier getting the front fairing off. Anyways, so we've got some items to do, more so than just the maintenance I talked about, which I kind of figured we'd get in here. Not sure how this happened, but I don't know. I mean, there's a plate here, so I don't know how that got dented, but strange and weird things. We're going to be redoing a lot of the wiring back here. Now, the previous owner, man, just stuff. He put in these LED running lights, which he drilled into here and then just like siliconed in. Okay, cool. They don't look awful as running lights in here. My issue is that he turned off the middle running light, or turned off. He just cut it. You can see right here, he just cut the wire that goes onto this. So, not sure. And, so I had some issues back here, but because of all the plastic and everything was on here, I couldn't really get to it properly. So I did kind of a quick solder joint to fix the lights and stuff back here. Make sure that everything was working. I'm probably going to end up cutting all of this and rewiring it. I may order a whole new rear piece and wire it back to basically original, because you can see all this stuff's corroded. All these wires are starting to break. Yeah, so I may end up just redoing this entire harness back here. I just would feel better. And then at least this, we're going to make a solder joint with. How obnoxious. I hate when people do janky stuff with electrical because, I'm kind of picky. I've done a lot of soldering. I work on a lot of electronics, so I'm anal. The rear seat latch left the chat quite some time ago. So I have a new one of those that's going on. I can finally latch my seat, so that's exciting. As you can see here, this was actually a lot of the reason why we were having problems is there was a fuse, which I'm going to try to not touch that too much, but there was a fuse connection on this wire, 30 amp fuse going to this other side here. I'll throw up a picture of it burning up, but basically the connector was so corroded on the inside, creating a lot of resistance, and then the connections on the fuse holder were so corroded that they were also creating a lot of resistance. It actually melted the fuse holder, all the wire and stuff, so it stranded me on Highway 94 in Colorado Springs. I had to kind of get inventive, kind of a dangerous place to stop, so I just cut the entire fuse out to where the wire was good, and then basically twisted them together because I didn't have any tape or anything, and then I rode it home. So actually hung the wiring outside of here so it wouldn't touch the frame or anything. So that was an experience, I guess, if you will. I don't know. The wiring on the Honda VFRs are kind of known to be not great. Early 2000s Honda, I don't care if it's a car or a bike, their wiring is not great. The previous owner did some upgrades. We'll look at that here in a second. But, this is a decent lithium, so that's fine. Right here, we have a mid point for doing the brakes. So the VFR has linked brakes. So that's one of the points that we will be doing some fluid exchange. But yeah, so oh yeah, we'll talk electrical real quick. All right, so one thing that he did at least 75% of the way is he went to a MOSFET style voltage regulator rectifier. He's one of those that toasted the stator on the bike. It's very common on the VFRs. Even my 98 had issues. So went to thicker gauge wiring underneath and went to this proper voltage regulator and ran everything over to the battery. But what he didn't complete was the circuit to the fuel injection system. It didn't beef that up, didn't go to better wiring. And then, of course, that's what melted. And then some of the stuff that they did do is kind of janky. I don't know. I might unwrap some of what they taped to get a better idea of what asinine things may have happened. Coolant, it's at the lower level, which is fine. The bike doesn't overheat or nothing. But engine ice, not a big fan of engine ice. So that's a rant and a rave. It's personal preference, but my opinion is 50-50 water and antifreeze is just better at transferring heat than engine ice. I know engine ice technically doesn't boil until some absurd temperature, but in my opinion, that just means that the fluid itself doesn't carry energy as well. But hey, I don't know. I've never had an issue with good old antifreeze. And here we get to this next problem here. This bike, of course, older gentleman that owned it, and he claims that he dropped it multiple times in his driveway because it's steep and most of the damage from the plastics came from that. Well, and they do look like low-speed drops. Anything higher speed, I feel like there'd be more damage on the bike, but this is concerning. If a radiator gets hit and it's just the in-between fins, but when it's one of the vanes, yeah, I think I may have to replace this radiator, which is unexpected and upsetting. Hasn't leaked, hasn't had any problems. I've put probably about 2,000 miles on it since I've had it, maybe a little bit more, actually closer to 3. Fun stuff, So we'll look at doing that. Now down here, we also have some gunk and possible leakage, but I actually think that isn't I think it's from whoever did the chain lube, put way too much on it. That's what it looks more like to me. So we're going to have to clean that up really good and check for any subsequent leaks. Yeah, the drain plug is wet, which tells me that they probably never replaced the copper washer. And in fact, it doesn't even look like it has a copper washer on it. That's fun. When they pulled the oil filter, you can tell, if we can see here, that they never cleaned up anything, right? They just pulled that thing and slapped another one on, didn't clean up anything. So we'll clean all that up. But the main thing is to be looking for leaks. Yeah, that's a big issue. Front brakes, we've had a little bit of a warping sensation. I believe it to be this left-hand rotor has warpage to it. I may just replace it. I got to do brake pads anyway. So, is what it is. All right, so headlight stuff. I don't know if the owner got into any of this. It doesn't look like it. It looks all OEM, I think. But I've had issues with the front left headlight having to play with it underneath here to get it to come back on. So probably a connection in there to the bulb isn't good. But I noticed, if we can get in here and look, that these underneath here is they're just like a standard kind of Molex plug. And yeah, they looked kind of corroded when I popped one up on this side. So we may take those loose and I may end up just doing solder joints at each of the lights. Each of the plugs, I'll say, and we'll clean up any other connections. And of course, as you may have seen, that this cover has damage right here. Obviously, whether that was low speed or what, it definitely took a hit. I would like to replace this side case, but it's fairly pricey. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with that yet. We'll see. I'm going to clean everything up real good. I'm going to see what actually leaks. Now, what is actually leaking is this oil line right here. This oil line up to the oil cooler is, she's leaking. She's got active leakage I can see coming out of the bung right there. So, that'll get replaced. I'll get with our Honda dealer or Honda rep tomorrow and get a new line in here. But overall, looks pretty good. Now when I get in here, the previous owner claimed that they did spark plugs and coils and stuff. We'll have to get in there and kind of check on that and see if I believe it or not. I see what looks to be a little seepage from the valve covers. You know, for a 20-plus-year-old bike, a little of that I'm okay with, as long as it's not profusely leaking. But yeah, if we get in there and see the spark plugs are real bad, we'll replace those too. All right, so I think this will be the end of my first video for the VFR. You know, we're going to be trying to kind of, this is just an initial what was wrong with the bike, what needs to be fixed, and, you know, what we're going to look at doing all to the bike. And I still need to get in there. The thing I didn't talk about, it needs a cam chain tensioner. I may have said that earlier in the video. I can't remember. So we're going to do the top bank cam chain tensioner first. Usually the one that fails. I'll get around to the rear one. The rear one's a lot easier to get to, so not a humongous deal. But yeah, so that'll get done. So that means the gas tank's got to come up and the air box has got to come out of there. So that'll be a little bit of an adventure as well. But overall, you know, for a project bike and for what I paid for this bike, I didn't pay very much for it. So you know, I've been very content with the VFRs. I have a passion for the VFR, and I want to get her pretty much back to brand new condition. That side case has got me really annoyed because it's the only thing that's pretty much not going to look brand new once I put the new plastics on it. And yeah, even the headlights, will polish those up. Yeah. So I got to see what we're going to do with that side case. I'll probably just end up eating it and replacing the whole thing. But yeah, she's going to get in some new tires. Good stuff. But if you guys have ever had a VFR, let me know in the comments below. These are really sweet bikes. You know, I guess by modern standards, they're not super fast anymore. They're like a big sport bike, really. It's sport touring, I think is what they consider it. But I think it looks way better than a standard sport touring. And I believe they make right around 110 horsepower, 100 to the rear wheel, pretty solid. So they feel great. It's kind of a heavier bike, but I love it how comfortable it is. It's still pretty quick. You know, it's got way more torque being a V4 than the inlines. So I feel that it keeps up quite well off the line, especially with a lot of the other comparable bikes these days. And, you know, it's a 700 and something cc engine, so it's not a liter bike. But after all my rambling, because I really like this bike, you know, I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll catch you all in the next one. Ferret Face out.